Tonight, we will be discussing a phenomenon that almost everyone has heard anecdotes about, but very few people have ever tried to actually document at scale. So, usually, when people convert to a religion, there's statistics, there's organizations and institutions tracking this change. But what about when people leave? Usually in most cases that can also be tracked, but when it comes to a religion like Islam, which carries along with it the punishment for death for apostasy, there it becomes very hard for us to track people who are leaving or people who have silently decided to reject the faith. We hear many stories of people in Iran saying that they've abandoned their Islamic faith and they'd like to return to their pre-Islamic roots, and we see that across the board in many other countries, but we've never ever been able to capture that data, well, until now. So without further ado, I would like to welcome today's guest. She is the beautiful face and the brains behind Haram Doodles, which you might have come across before, and also the co-creator of the new website, xmuslim.me, which is an incredible project collecting anonymous stories from former Muslims around the world. It's already gathered hundreds of different stories across dozens of countries. And to be honest, it's creating something remarkable, which is why I felt like we need to discuss this and bring it to the wider world. So essentially, we're discussing a living map in real time, essentially, well, as real as people submit the stories and they get approved, of ex-Muslim experiences across the globe. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Sami to back, to Beyond Belief. Hi, Sami.
Hey, how are you?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for being here. My favorite conversations are always those with beautiful ex-Muslim women who are unveiled and loud and outspoken, and you tick all of those boxes.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for having me. I'm so glad to be here
No, of
and
course.
really excited to talk about this new project.
Yes, no, same here. And I feel like the world needs to hear. We are growing in numbers. We're here, we're loud and proud, and we exist. So, Sami, before we kick off and look into kind of this incredible new website that you have essentially launched and given people a chance to share their story of apostasy, just because the last time we spoke, I think the channel had a lot less viewers than it did now.
Yeah.
Can you give us a quick rendition of your journey out of Islam, or what it was about Islam that kind of made you, eventually leave and become outspoken?
Yeah. I think the simplest way I can say it is I'm an ex-Muslim and I left Islam because I'm a woman. And I think there came a point in my life where I couldn't digest any stomach. I could not like see and read the words in the Quran, in Hadith, and call it something that I wanted to live by. And very quickly realizing that the words that were written down were stories told by men. The system of Islam is a male-centered system. It's a male-led system. It's got a male-led history. It's male-entitled culture. And it really sort of I came to a point where I was like, this is not the way I want to live my life. And my values have clearly changed over the time where, Islam asks us for obedience, but I wanted freedom, and it asks for control, but I wanted safety. And so I think a lot of us go through this journey of who are we? Where do we want to go? What do we want to do with our lives? And I knew Islam was not the way I wanted to live anymore. And it took years. It wasn't easy. Like it took years to get to that point, right? Like it wasn't just like a instant sort of flip. No one coerced us. No one said like, "Oh, just leave Islam." It was a very personal journey that each of us goes through. And so then 4 years ago, I started to head on doodles because I needed a way to say things that really just I was never allowed to say, never allowed to speak about, never allowed to question. And art became that way of turning that silence, that grief, the isolation, everything that we experience into something visible. And I'm really glad 4 years in, and then I was like, "Okay, now we need something that connects." It's connected to that same impulse, but something bigger, so it's not just about my doodles or my story, but it's hundreds of ex-Muslims saying, "I exist too," and that's really what gave birth to, oh, look at that, I gave birth to something else.
I love that. I was actually going to say, because looking at it, like I've actually been looking at the website quite a lot, and I was just thinking to myself that I think, well, consciously or unconsciously, what you've done is, unbeknowingly, you might have accelerated the movement of apostasy, because even just having people share their stories and then knowing that there are other stories out there, it really, like, you know, rewind back the like 10 years ago, we thought we existed
Yeah,
low-key in a vacuum. I mean, I did, until I went online,
mm,
and then even then it was very kind of um watching videos within, like, almost like a debate setting or an
yeah,
institutionalized setting, in a long form format. I didn't just know there's people from all over the world. I only knew of like one, ex-Muslims of North America. But before we get into that, because it's so fascinating, I do want to just tell the audience that I love the fact that you started haram doodles. First of all, because the word haram means, forbidden in
forbidden.
Islam,
Mhm,
and impure. And the fact that it was directly connected to you being told as I don't know, an adolescent or a child, whenever it
mhm,
was, that you need to stop wasting your time doing these doodles, because effectively, this is, ladies and gents, in Islam, the fact is, if you draw, or if you want to be an artiste, you're competing with Allah essentially on the day of judgment, because
yeah,
nobody else can give rise to creation, only He can. So can you imagine the way that it plucks out any form of artistic talent and creativity and desire within a child? So I love that
yeah.
that was your personal rebellion, and it's grown quite a lot since then, right? You've got
Yeah.
quite a lot of recognition for it.
Yeah, it's been really cool to see, and I especially love hearing from ex-Muslims that reach out and, like, I I always I was like, how can I how can I share the Islamic experience, but through very simple visuals? We can talk about things, we can write things down, but I think art has a really unique way of pushing back against, the authorities and the mullahs and all the sort of the Islamists that come at us. And I really wanted to create a way for ex-Muslims to be seen, to be heard, to be valued, but in a different way. Um, and it was never about my face. It was never about just me. It was about how can we talk about the Islamic experience in a whole new way, but also show it through like a humanist lens, because humans, we're the ones that experience it, right? We experience the ideology. Where we grow up in environments where our parents, our families, our communities, people in governments, they're also influenced by the ideology. And so that's why we find it in governments and laws. And those laws exist in our homes too. So, like, apostasy and blasphemy laws were absolutely part of our homes, right? We didn't it didn't need a government to dictate those same laws in our house, but our parents were doing that for us. And I get it. They were only doing what they thought was best. And also, we know what's best for ourselves. And I think it's that we reclaim that identity for ourselves, we reclaim our lives for ourselves, and really just to be able to show that through doodles, that it's simple, kid-like doodles, I think just yeah, I'm really it's always heartening for me to hear from ex-Muslims who see a doodle and see themselves in it. It's just amazing.
Yeah, I think there's definitely something we can all relate to here. I was just having a chuckle at this one about the shaitan, or the devil, and it's like, what scared you as a Muslim? There were so many, like, it's so funny the way your doodles bring back to life so many things that were once such a large part of our lives that we've kind of shed since leaving Islam. So I always enjoy
Mhm.
going back to your page and being like, oh my gosh, like looking at this from an ex-Muslim perspective, it's just, yeah, it's so amazing.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you.
so let's move on to the reason we're here today. And that's because not only have you created Haram Doodles, but you carry on creating really incredible projects, I think, that are adding to this whole movement of apostasy, or the ex-Muslim movement in their own right. And this one, I think, is going to be pretty huge. So I wanted us to capture it even in the form that it is now, because I don't think we have the chance of getting any, even close to any actual real stats or data from the Muslim majority countries around the world, let alone, the Gulf countries or countries like Pakistan, for example, where, blasphemy is still punishable by death or life imprisonment.
Mhm.
Um, and what really intrigued me was the fact that these weren't stories just from the Western Hemisphere, they were from all over.
Mhm.
So I'm going to pull up
Mhm.
the website and we can get into that a little bit, and into some analysis and discussing some of these stories. But
Sure.
tell us, how was this idea born? How did this come into like fruition?
So last year, and just so you all know too, I'm married to an ex-Muslim, and so
Whoop,
both
whoop.
of us
Love
spend
that.
a lot we spend
Couples
a lot
who leave
of
Islam
time
stay together. I'm joking.
we spend a lot of time talking about Islam, and we have been ever since we've gotten together. And so, he and I had been thinking of ways of how else can we support ex-Muslims. And I know there are other ways of sharing your story, right? There's Reddit, there's social media. People start their own pages. We started our own pages, right? So there's multiple different ways. And I think the way Haram Doodles for me was often about satire, rage, grief, comedy, all that stuff in sort of this drawn form. Ex-Muslim.me became this sort of truth telling, but from a global perspective. And what really inspired me was there's a website called queeringthemap.com. And so it's actually LGBTQ folks who go on this website and they put pins down to like the street level and to share messages of hope, their own stories. And that really inspired me because I was like, that's such a cool way of visibly seeing so many people around you that it doesn't make you feel like you're alone. And so I took that sort of global map idea, but one thing that we did was we didn't want to make it street level, obviously, because we don't want to give away ex-Muslim, information that's like personally identifiable. And so we made sure that it's only by city. So the map doesn't even get to that street level. And really just I worked with my partner. He helped create the website for me. We have a little tiny team of ex-Muslims we were testing this out with, um, including Secular Spirit. He was very helpful in, sort of guiding where this was going and how it was looking. And so it just really kind of it came about in a way. And at first we were like, I don't know who's going to do this. Like, who's going to share their story? Everyone's probably really scared. But to now see, like, we launched it December 2025, and now to see it at 722 stories, it is like, I just cannot believe that that actually happened and that people are going in there and sharing their stories. There's some stories that are one sentence. There are some stories that take up all 5,000 characters, and that's totally okay. People are sharing as much or as little as they want, but the fact that they're sharing it is just amazing. And from 75, 76 countries.
Yeah, no, this is
Yeah.
incredible. 722 stories across 293 cities within 76 countries. Like that to
Yeah.
me is already awe-inspiring. 76 countries across the
Yeah.
globe, Sammy. I mean, just look at this. It's so intriguing to just kind of, explore the world map and see. Well, there's 1,000 stories at the moment, 1,010 out of the
48.
US.
48 stories, but then the 1,000 is the little reaction. So we kept
Oh,
the little
gotcha.
hearts. Everyone can use that to like the stories. So even non-Muslims or Muslims, if they come into the website, the heart is only thing that they can do. But
Hmm.
ex-Muslims are the ones that share their stories. And then we have a team of moderators. I'm one of them. I have read every single story that's come in. I have rejected a few that, we don't allow proselytizing, we don't allow hate against people. And so there have been a few stories that we've had to reject. And at the same time, there's 722 that like ex-Muslims that are actually, just the amount of courage. Look, somebody online right now, they just like the story in Rawalpindi, Pakistan.
Oh,
But
wow.
anyone,
Yes,
if someone's
Pakistan,
on,
come on. Leave Islam.
so if anyone's on there, you can actually see other people reacting to the stories too. So, and then we build
So,
data into it too, which is that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, no, this seems like a very kind of high-tech operation, but behind the scenes, for example, like so how soon, like, I mean, how in real time does it measure the likes of somebody liking a story? Is that pretty much real time?
That's real time, yeah. That's somebody
Wow.
actually on the website right now, probably tapped like on a story.
Wow. And I mean, guys, if you're watching, like, let's just look at some of these countries that are like,
Madagascar,
we've
Mauritius,
got
like just
a story out of
amazing.
Madagascar, Mbanja. Like, what? What's this place?
This
Oh
is
my God.
Mauritius.
Cure Pipe in Mauritius has a story. Wow, because Mauritius is very a
Yeah,
majority Muslim, like quite heavily
yeah,
Islamic as
yeah.
well for the
Same
majority.
with Maldives. We've got a few stories there and just amazing to see them coming through. Even
Oh,
again,
Maldives as
small,
well.
tiny country, but very Islamic.
Yeah, very Islamic. Oh my gosh, Male is, it's I wouldn't imagine wanting to be a
Yeah.
vocal ex-Muslim in Male. Um, so we've
And
got
so then,
Uganda, Somalia. What surprised you the most?
so I think the way I've been obviously like I've been using Haram Doodles as a way to share this out. I've obviously shared it with everybody else, with you. Thank you for sharing your story too. Um, and you
Of
can
course.
read Nuria's story in the UK.
I'll find my story as you talk.
And so what's really been interesting is that initially we weren't going to capture any data and we were going, it's too much to ask. Let's leave it out. And I kept going, you know what? Let's ask it. Let's keep it optional and see if people want to respond to it or not. And I think that was really surprising for me to see that so many people wanted to actually share who they were, like demographically. And so if you click on the bottom left, oh, you found your story.
I
Would you
found
like
my
to read
story.
your story?
I can read my story. This was my contribution, but there's so many other good ones, so I'll read a couple out. But let's do what you wanted to show us first,
Yeah.
actually, because I think
Um,
it's pretty damn cool.
yeah.
So this you
So
wanted me
if
to
you,
click?
yep, and if you click on that little, the ones, yep, so that's where we are. This is all organized by stories by region, so number of stories. So, and if you click on the region, it'll take you to that region as well.
Oh wow,
Um,
okay. So this is Africa.
yeah. So
Look
that's,
all across Africa.
yeah. We had some amazing Moroccan influencers who shared it out. So we got a ton of stories from Morocco suddenly. So we're
61,
hoping
lovely.
as it
Yeah.
picks up, yeah, UK I think is beating Morocco right now
Oh
in terms
yes.
of number of stories.
Come on, Britain. 60. Oh,
Um,
okay. Well, we're just in front. Gosh, this is like the
yeah.
World Cup of apostasy. Forget the
And
football World
so
Cup. This is where it's
and
at.
if you and if you go back to that the tab
Yes.
that you were on with countries, and if you scroll down, you can also see stories by country. So these are all sorted by the top most countries, most stories by country to least stories. So that gives you a good idea of where those stories are coming from as well, just at a
Okay,
glance.
so let's just have a quick analysis of where most of these stories are coming from. The UK, whoop whoop, represent. Let's go. Okay, that makes me very happy. Although we're safe here, we should be able to, right?
I
In
know.
large droves, just
All
leave.
right.
Morocco in close second. Okay, very good because it's,
Mm-hmm.
not really considered at all like that, well developed
Mm-hmm.
of a country, and it's quite heavily conservative in the
Yeah.
rural areas, especially.
We are still fighting for our friend Betty over there. She's still in prison for wearing her God is lesbian t-shirt. So, Morocco is definitely one of those countries where, the Islamic laws are being pumped through the kingdomship as well. So it's, yeah.
That's right. Yes. Do you want to say a few words on her, what happened with her? Because I was actually watching this on French news the other day.
Yeah. She last year she posted a photo of herself wearing a t-shirt that said Allah is lesbian actually. And just God in Arabic is Allah, right? And so she made that t-shirt, wore it, never in the UK. But the minute she came back to visit family in Morocco, she was arrested, taken into prison, sentenced to 30 months in prison. She's been in isolation. Just, they are basically trying to set an example because she has
Mm.
been fighting for human rights in Morocco for so many years. And so we're doing whatever we can to get her out. It's freebetty.org if anyone wants to go and help, sign the petitions, get people involved, tell journalists, tell government leaders. So, yeah, and this is just one of so many cases that happen, right? Like blasphemy and apostasy laws that operate in Islamic countries. So,
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And please,
yeah,
guys, if you can spare a moment, do give the more, signatures and international recognition this case gets, I think the more pressure will be put on the Moroccan government, especially because they've ratified certain conventions which should not allow her to be imprisoned for this.
yeah,
So yeah, please
absolutely.
do spare a minute.
Yeah. It's
So
nice
what
to
else
see
is going on in
India,
the
US, and
World Cup?
Pakistan,
Yes.
Indonesia. Like, it's just really cool to see these countries popping up. And yeah, really grateful. Like, I know it takes a lot to share your story. There was somebody that said they had been like silent about their whole experience of leaving Islam for 40 years. And they finally shared their story here. And so just,
Wow.
it's, and really, there are some stories that are incredibly heartbreaking. It
Mm,
will, there's a piece of you that will break when you read some of these stories. And uh, but it also goes to show that, we're not a single stereotype, we're not a monolith, we're a group of very diverse people. And what's crazy is, regardless of the country, regardless of the experiences, regardless of even our education levels, any of that, right? Because there are young people sharing their stories, there are people, so we allow stories from 13 and above.
mm.
And there's really young people sharing their stories. So they haven't even graduated college yet and they have left Islam. So
Oh,
that tells
wow.
you a lot, right? That tells you that you don't need, education is not is not going to determine if whether you leave Islam or not. It's that sort of the level of how much you can tap into your own sort of brain, your imagination, your critical thinking skills, and how much you allow yourself to do that. And it's beautiful to see that we're all over the place. We're
Oh my
all
goodness.
ages, all sexual
Literally.
orientations, all, just it's beautiful to see this.
I mean, there's a person in Romania somewhere that's left
Yeah.
Islam, That's glorious.
Right. And some
Brunei, of
folks,
course,
you
again,
know
very Muslim
yeah,
country. Yeah.
exactly, and some people don't feel safe sharing the country that they're in, so oftentimes I am seeing that too, that they might share a different city, but they might mention that they are from, for example, Palestine, but they might be living in a different city. So, and that's okay, right? Like, you have to protect your own safety, and we allow you to do that. You choose a city and country that feels right for you, and we
Mhm.
want you to be safe.
Oh, well, Abdurrahman
Yeah.
is saying, I wish I could tell my stories. I'm still living in disguise. Kudos to all you brave humans. Well, first of all, thank you so much for the super chat, Abdurrahman. And I hope one day, because this is completely anonymous, as Sammy was saying, I hope
Mhm.
one day you are able to physically type your story in with those, like into this and share it with the world because everybody deserves to. I mean, it must be so cathartic to finally be able
Yeah.
to speak your truth. And I'm not sure where you're living and the reason you're still in disguise, and obviously safety comes first, but I
Yeah.
truly, truly hope one day you will be contributing to this. And I hope that this gives you some form of hope that people in countries like Somalia and, like we were saying, like Yemen, that,
Lebanon. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And
um,
it's, and I hope you do tell your story, Abdurrahman. Like, just, I think stories end up challenging that myth that people leave Islam only because they're confused or immoral or westernized or traumatized. We are traumatized, or queer or attention seeking, or we're angry. We were never really Muslim. And so we hear all these, sort of the gaslighting that comes at us from Muslims. And really, stories end up showing that diversity of ex-Muslims, whether we're closeted, public, queer, straight, trans, women, men, right? Like, any of us and all of us, and people still living with Muslim families too, right? Like, but we're still trying to rebuild ourselves, knowing that Islam is not what we want to build our life with. We want to build our life by ourselves. We want to live authentically. And I can't believe that it's 2026 and we're still having these conversations. And I was like, I need to do something about this. I need to make sure that we can share our stories. And I think seeing it on a map is just it's such a different visual, right? Like, you read a story on Reddit or a story on, I don't know, Instagram, it just hits different.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said
Yeah,
it better myself. You know, we can say like, oh, so many people are leaving Islam or people from all over are ex-Muslims, but seeing the actual visuals and being able to kind of, go country by country as we are here,
yeah,
there's just nothing like it. Again, once
yeah.
again, Sammy, you have managed to push the needle through some form of creative visual representation that was definitely lacking in this movement.
Thanks.
So thank you.
Yeah, of
So
course. And what's really cool is that, like, so this is the data that shows where we are. And then the tab that's right underneath this, it shows who we are. So that's the demographic data. So if you pop out of this window,
sure. Let me just
go back to
have
the
a
map.
quick rundown
Yeah.
of the World Cup of Apostasy. So who's actually at the bottom right now? Let's see. Um, okay, so there's a lot of countries tied with one, the
Yeah. So
Palestine
just
one
one
you
story
mentioned.
each. Yep.
Okay, well, look at the representation from such, like unique countries: South Sudan, Brunei, Romania, Philippines, Ethiopia, brilliant. Afghanistan. Whoa,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Come on, Afghanistan, rise up. Um, Okay, we've got Oman. Brilliant. Oh, wow. Sleepy, sleepy little Oman. I'm so happy.
Sleepy.
I've been there. It's such a sleepy country. I'm surprised that anyone
Um,
gets anything done, honestly.
yeah. Saudi Arabia. I mean, United Arab Emirates, Turkey,
Saudi
Egypt.
Arabia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Bangladesh.
Iran. Iran should be much bigger, to be honest. I'm surprised. We need to share
I
this
hope
amongst
so.
the Iranian
Yeah.
diaspora. I'm sure
So
it's
we
going to
did
be
swap out the Islamic regime's flag from Iran's flag.
beautiful, as you
And
should.
we and for now we updated it with the Woman Life Freedom, the Zan Zindagi Azadi flag for now. As a nod, that's just because I was heavily inspired by the Iranian women there. Ooh, my AirPod's falling out. I'm gonna catch it. Hold on one second. Um, I'm gonna grab my AirPod. I'll be
Sure.
right back.
While Sammy grabs her headphone, I'm just going to read one of the stories that have come directly out of. So this is out of a city called Urmia in Iran, and this is some brave ex-Muslim apostate story. So she says, "I am a woman, and what led me to become an atheist was reading the Quran critically and asking questions, especially about the unequal treatment of genders in Islam. That process made me turn to philosophy and reflect on the big questions of life. Where do we come from? What's the meaning of life? Is there a God? Today I am at peace with myself and feel love for all living beings. I hope everyone finds peace in their own lives. My life has become much more meaningful since I left Islam." Oh my gosh, hasn't it? "Think critically, don't accept everything others tell you, and dare to search for the truth yourself."
Ah,
Wow.
goosebumps, just goosebumps. Every story gives me goosebumps. It's just
For real, if
insane.
that ain't inspirational, I don't know what is. This is a
Yeah.
random story I've picked off the map from within Iran. Given everything that's going on right now, we could click on any city here and probably get goosebumps. I could be here all night reading the stories to you. So let me know how much time you have, folks, because we can go through each one by one, honestly. But sorry, Sammy, I digress.
Yeah, no
As you can see,
worries.
I'm like a child in a candy shop. I'm way too overexcited.
This is great. I'm so glad because that tells me it's engaging, right? And so we wanted this website to be engaging that you can go on there and every day there's a new story. So the bottom, if you look on the bottom right, there's a little icon with a little clock in it.
Is it this?
Um, so this is what I was telling you about earlier. So this is the other data that we're capturing, which is demographics. And so we leave it up to, it's optional. You can share it. The data is all aggregated, so it's never, the one thing that we did for privacy reasons is even when I'm moderating a story, I don't see the person's email address. We get a very random ID. And so we really made sure we anonymized the data even before it gets to me as a moderator. And
Wow.
so and it's great. We have majority of people sharing their data too, which is amazing. And so now we can see majority of us did not convert, like a vast majority, 85% did not convert.
85% did not convert. Let's just talk about that for a second, because that's very interesting to me. The fact that
Mhm.
85, so I mean, you personally, Sammy, you can tell me your experience. For me,
Yeah.
you mentioned the word trauma earlier. I think that's a very good use of the word, because I was so traumatized by the amount of lies that I was told through Islam
Mm-hmm.
growing up, and all these kind of really crazy fairy tale stories that I once believed and tried to look into and find meaning out of
Yeah.
myself, that I because I grew up in Saudi Arabia, the world, like I never even studied evolution at school. I never got to hold fossils in my hand or go to like
Mm,
beaches like you can in the UK and actually see like living fossils from a bygone era. We never had
yeah.
that. We were just, Islam, Islam, Islam. Oh, science exists, but let's double fold the chapter for that and skip over it.
God
Um,
created you, the end. That's a
literally.
science chapter.
So YouTube gave me a massive education once I
Yeah.
was questioning Islam and I was kind of on my way out. And then I really I had this newfound respect for scientific inquiry.
Hmm.
And like just generally like things that were falsifiable truths and
Yep.
unfalsifiable truths and evidence, the need for evidence before me. So this is pretty in concurrence with my opinion, with my experience. What would you say for yourself? Do you agree with that that's most
Yeah.
people's experience by and large, and yourself?
You know, we can say very clearly that of the 722 ex-Muslims, and that's a pretty sizable number, that of
Yeah.
of us, like 85% did not convert. Now, if more people, ex-Muslim Christians, for example, come into this website, that number might shift, right? And so we're probably going to see these numbers shift a little bit, but by and large, I do feel like many of us end up actually just letting go of religion altogether. Because I don't know if for me personally, I was like, I just didn't care to jump back into, I don't know, another well, like, you know what I mean? For me, it was
Sure.
like I could get out of this well of Islam, and I didn't want to jump back into another religion. And I would rather kind of, and once I think you and I may have experienced that like sort of unfairness as women, because we bear the consequences of being born female. And so maybe we would have left because of science if we were men and like logic and reasoning, right? But we actually experienced the Islam as women. And that's really what really drives us to like leave Islam. And so, and I think that's really unique too. I think I'm probably reaching a younger audience through social media. So a lot of us leaving in 2020s. I left in 2010s. Um, I don't know, Nuria, what about you? What
Uh,
decade?
2020 is I was really late to the party.
Yeah, okay. And you were also making your way to the party.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. But I was
so yeah,
going to ask
so
you that, Sammy, do
yeah,
you also think that have you noticed a like because obviously you moderate the stories and
yeah.
approve them, so you must have read a lot of experiences. Do you notice that there is a stark divide between, let's say, men leaving for more theological or scientific reasons versus women and girls leaving more for social pressures and cultural reasons that they just felt were too restrictive and unfair?
Hmm. I would say yes, and a lot of men do end up actually talking about the sexism in Islam. I have read a lot of stories from men who have actually mentioned, like the Prophet's marriage to Aisha, that not sitting right with them, child marriage, just the sexist laws and misogyny that is sort of wrapped up into Islam, hijab, all that stuff, right? So there are men that may personally leave because of reasoning and logic and science and all that stuff, but it's also attached to sort of the values because they're using slightly different values than what Islam wants us to use, right? And so once their values have shifted over into this space of curiosity and empathy and kindness and, I don't know, safety and freedom and care. So I think you end up also going, oh shit, like this religion sucks for women too. It's not just me. Like women are experiencing it very differently. And so I think
Yeah.
I am reading that as well. So it's been cool to see that yes, men may leave for that other reason, but they are also recognizing the patriarchal system that it's created within.
Oh, fabulous.
So
That's really nice to hear actually that they recognize the plight of women within this religion as well. I think
yeah.
if you're growing up in a household where you've got sisters or your mother is treated awfully, it's a lot easier for you to see the direct implications of
Yeah.
Islam on a woman or on little girls because you see the complete stark contrast in how they're treated. I mean, we've discussed this
Yeah.
before in our conversation, but like even, the difference between myself and my brother and, you know,
Mhm.
just being scared if I was to go out and party and
Yeah.
what I'm wearing, and it would all be policed if I was to fall in love with a man, and especially if he was not Muslim or a boy at the
Yeah.
time I was so young, versus my brother could go and, even if he went and slept around, it's not that big of a deal. My male cousins who were
Exactly.
my age were allowed to party. They would be
Yeah.
asked, "How was your night?" I would have to
Yeah.
live a double life and kind of,
Yeah.
put jeans on top of a skirt or leggings and run out the house and have a bag and just, yeah.
Oh gosh, the amount of times I've done that too, of just, like, sneaking out, changing an outfit somewhere else, or just even simple things, right? Like, "Can I go work in another city?" "No." Can I go to my friend's house?"
Wow.
"No." Can I like, there's and so many of us experience that slightly differently, and it boils my blood when I see Muslim women drop into our content, both of us, right? And they're like, well, it's culture. And well, I can wear makeup and I can wear perfume and it's like, great, you have privilege.
Mhm.
Don't let your privilege hit you while on your way out. Like,
Yeah.
just it really, I'm like, how can you not see that your level of privilege does not define how Islam is experienced by others? And your experience is not the only experience that Islam gives. Like, we all come from very different backgrounds. A lot of us, you know we might be in, like, Western countries, we might be in Muslim countries, right? So our experiences are so different. The way you said, like, in Saudi, like, you weren't learning science and evolution. I was learning science and evolution, and yet I was still like a Muslim here,
Mm.
right? So even that, like,
Oh, I
just
would have been too, by the way, in the UK, trust me. I would have actually
yeah.
been even more of a Muslim, the route I was going down. Um, so
Oh,
yeah, but also I hate that culture argument, Sammy, and it's
yeah,
exactly because of what this excuse me, this comment is saying that culture is
yeah,
shaped by religion. I mean, you can come
exactly.
from, let's say, any of these countries, like,
Yeah.
all these countries. What's the common denominator? Someone somewhere has
Islam.
experienced Islam.
Yeah.
Even countries that aren't even Islamic, like Romania,
Right,
Ukraine.
right. I mean,
Um,
and what's interesting too is that you what and I think what we fail to recognize, and I can see why we do this as a Muslim too. For me, I fail to recognize that if there's a belief like women have to cover themselves, women have to stand behind men, the culture then becomes women are hidden, women are standing behind men, women don't shake hands with men, women are separated, right? So that's the religion literally is giving shape to the culture, and yet they're going, well, it's not religion, it's culture. And you're like, no, it's the same thing. It's like one influences the other. Culture can come up in so many different ways, and religion is one of them.
exactly. I think it's just a terrible argument, and it's used a
Yeah,
lot actually by moderate Muslims,
right.
liberal Muslims, and apologists to, blame culture and then give Islam a free pass. So I
Right.
absolutely try and push back on that whenever I can. Um,
Um,
Okay, so shall we go back to the World Cup of
yeah.
hypocrisy and what you were showing us? Because I think this is really interesting. The fact that 59% of those who left Islam consider themselves atheists, and that's
Mm,
a fully fledged atheist, whereas 26% consider themselves agnostic. So in total, 85% did not convert, which is a huge number, actually. I think that's very telling
mhm.
of the way Islam, doesn't really make people rush to the next belief system, for example.
Yeah.
In my experience, the most I've seen is going from Islam to wanting to stay within the Abrahamic faiths and then choosing Christianity,
Mhm.
which is the most common. Otherwise, I see ex-Muslims who try and say that they're more spiritual and maybe kind of just look at the broader aspects of Buddhism, not necessarily convert per se, because
Yeah.
personally, I don't even know how you convert to Buddhism, but they just call themselves more
Yeah.
spiritual.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
And I
did you want
can't even get myself to use the word spiritual because the word spirit is, like it is religious. Like it sort of takes this view that like there's this other piece of us, this like internal soul or whatever. And I'm like, I can't even use that word. And so for me, I call that reflection. I call that
Yeah.
meditation. I call that I stretch, I do breathing exercises because anxiety and all these things that do come with the religious trauma, they
Yeah.
still eat at you even today, right? Like I've left Islam, it's been over a decade, and yet I still feel triggered and I still feel sort of that trauma that comes creeping back every now and then, especially when you have Muslims that trigger us, right? Like you've got, besides your own family saying shit to you, then you've got random strangers online saying shit to you, the Ummah undies getting in a bunch over and over again over just us existing. And so
Yeah.
now this is like, and I think what's the cool thing is this is not a social media website. You can't
Mm.
talk to other ex-Muslims on here. So there is no way for Muslims to really do anything here. They can just read the stories, you know? We did have an attack on our website when we first launched it. Someone just racked up the reactions and, like, gave us, like, thousands of reactions, and we're like, "Oh, sure, thanks." Like, so it was very minor, but we have not had many incidents of attacks on the website. There's a Muslim
Mm.
story that came in. I immediately rejected it very proudly.
Yeah.
Um, I have heard from Muslims who are like, "Oh, I just reverted back to Islam. Like, where's the section where I can share my story?" And I'm like, "Well, this is not for you, buddy. Like, you can go share
Yeah.
your story
This
somewhere
isn't
else.
for
This is."
reverts. Jog on.
Right, right.
I'm sorry, let's not even
Um,
accept the word reverted to Islam. I've been kind of I hate that. The fact that, it comes with such an air of superiority that,
mhm.
Islam is your natural state of being.
Yeah,
Absolutely not. You're a convert
yeah,
to Islam. None of us were born ever made for
right.
Islam or with Islam beating within the depths of our hearts. Um,
Regardless of what Islam teaches us too, right? Because Islam teaches us it's a biological identity when we know it's a social one. If you can convert into it, you don't need to be you're not born a Muslim. It is not something that, is decided by your DNA that suddenly there is no Muslim DNA.
Yeah, no, as much as they'd like to think so, exactly. And I think what's so insidious, about Islam is the fact that, it tries to get you from birth with that, but, like, as you're a newborn baby, we have these rituals
Mhm,
where they whisper, the call to prayer in your ear, and,
mhm.
your entire life is essentially lived between that call to prayer being whispered into your ear until the call to prayer being read for
Yeah,
your funeral prayer. And they
yeah,
say that a Muslim's life is just between those two calls of prayers being said.
mhm.
And that is such a dark and
Yeah,
depraved way to think about life. It would
yeah.
scare the bejeebies out of me when I was a Muslim. I really
Mhm.
was like, oh my gosh, which our time on this earth is finite, but you
Yeah,
don't have to position it like that
yeah. We
and
all I
package
mean,
it like that for
exactly, and death is as natural as birth. And I think it took, a family member passing in my own family. My dad passed away, and I think that really helped me understand that, death was it's it's gonna happen to any of us, and I think that actually helped me get over the fear of death, of seeing someone really close to me pass away. Um, and that really helped me go, "Okay, we really do have one life, and I'm not gonna waste it anymore." And I think it really did give me a whole new perspective on life. So,
wow.
even though that's, yes, I'm sad my dad passed away, and he was a Muslim through and through, and also, there's a part of me that loved him, and there was a part of me that hated that Muslim side of him too, and I'm totally okay saying that. And I think so many of us deal with parents like that, you know, they give us a little bit, but they don't give us a lot. There's some parents that really just restrict us from everything, from experiencing life, from experiencing education, and so being able to read these stories on exmuslim.me and being able to read stories that even I'm relating to with people that are sharing that, like, my mom passed away or someone close to me passed away, or just experiencing life as a woman, just I'm getting like so much value out of this website, even like, over a decade later, and I'm still like crying reading these.
I'm not
So,
surprised at all because I
yeah.
mean, even if we were to look at this, for example, sorry, let me get this off the screen. But like for example, so okay, 41% of people on this website who have shared their stories are heterosexual.
Mhm.
40% are not. So you've got a mixture of bisexual, lesbian, those who consider themselves to be asexual, gay, pansexual, queer, and other. Of course, you've got 90% of no responses as well. But effectively, anything after this heterosexual and below, so
Mhm.
after heterosexual, Islam does not allow for any of this behavior anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
so this is so understandable that even if you are questioning your sexuality, even if
Mhm.
you realize you may be bisexual, you may be gay, there is no place for you in Islam, despite what
Yeah.
LGBTQ plus IA friendly mosques will tell you.
Yeah.
Islamically, according to every
Mm.
scripture and scholar, that is worth its salt, that's worth their salt. There is no place for you within Islam. So
Yeah.
once again, that makes a lot of sense that those people have left. But it's also interesting that the majority there are heterosexual as well. I would have
Yeah.
expected to see a
And
lot more gay stories, to be honest. But I'm sure
yeah, and
that's
hopefully, hopefully more folks come in and share their stories. And I'm also really grateful that people felt safe enough to share their stories. Being gay and bisexual and trans, right? Like that's such a scary thing to even exist in that body and to have this environment that you're living in, either whether it's an Islamic country or your Islamic home, where you're not accepted. And just because this religion says so.
yeah,
And if it didn't, we wouldn't be here, right? Like ex-Muslims wouldn't even exist if there was like no apostasy law in Islam. So the fact that folks are feeling comfortable sharing their stories, I think that's just, yeah, it's so amazing to see that. And
yeah,
you are
for sure.
absolutely right. Nobody wants to go to Islamic heaven.
Yeah. I was just
I'm
thinking
sorry.
that, like,
Not even the lesbians would want to go to Islamic heaven because come on, like there's the idea of the virgins in heaven. It's like, I don't know, like a jellyfish, like a see-through woman. Like just fucking weird. Like
so odd,
it's
honestly.
just
It's so
sick
odd.
7th century fantasy, male sexual fantasy. And no thank you.
That's a hard pass. No, thank you. But yes, so again, these stats are very interesting. What makes me very happy is that the age here, look at the amount of under 18s leaving Islam.
Mhm.
That is beautiful. This is why I actually titled this live stream is Islam losing a generation, because I feel like this is very much, for the most part, a youth-led movement. A
Yeah.
lot of people who I wish I left Islam sooner, to be honest, but
Yeah.
sometimes, hey, it takes a life experience to leave it. Um, but look at the 31% and 34% are essentially like 25 and under, which is
Yeah.
beautiful to see, Sammy.
Mhm. That's and
This
it's
is
just and that's where I'm like, there I know that we get a lot of comments about like, "Oh, you don't know Islam, you're not educated, you're not this, you're not that." But just under 18, they haven't even finished high school yet and they're leaving Islam. And so that says a lot.
Yeah, no, that is amazing. Just to
Um,
comment on Coach Amber's point, saying Coach Amber said stop listening when you said trans child mutilation is the devil's work. Look, I think Sammy and I have had this conversation before as well.
yeah,
I stop after the LGB in that queue as well. Okay, I stop after that section of the alphabet soup, if you will, and we do have different opinions on this topic, but we're just discussing data in terms of how people identify. So it's still very interesting from a data perspective, whether
yeah,
whichever position you take on the whole trans debate.
yeah. And I don't really care that you stopped listening when I said trans. That's totally okay because trans ex-Muslims exists and whether you like it or not, it doesn't really matter. They still exist. They have every right to share their story. And I'm really glad they are. We need to be able to see the diversity amongst us as well. And
Exactly.
that diversity is reflected also in the human population. So, you know, you
I
do
mean,
you, you don't get to tell others what to do. That's it. That's all that
yeah,
matters.
Yeah, I mean, everyone is entitled, obviously, to their opinion on it, but like you said, the
Yeah,
diversity exists and it's out
yeah.
there, so, we
And we're
have to
not
talk about it.
discussing fucking pizza toppings here, right? Like, we're not discussing like pineapple versus pepperoni here. We're discussing actual people's lives and their and biologically and sort of socially what is happening with them. And we all exist in these systems. We all Islam was made within the patriarchy. Of course, it was only made for people that identified as women and identified as men, and anything in between wasn't okay, right? That's sinful. So whether whether it's a gay person or a trans person, according to Islam, they can't exist. And so I'm not here to like further that story. I'm here to go, you know what? We all exist. We all exist on this planet.
Yeah, touche. We all exist on this planet, and like I said, again, ex-Muslims are not a monolith. We all have various opinions on these
Mhm.
factors, but we're discussing people across the world sharing their stories and how they identify. So, it's how can you deny somebody else's experience
Yeah.
in this regard?
And
Um,
unfortunately, Nuria, too,
yeah,
like the other thing I was going to say is it's really sad that we are all trying to fight for our rights at the same time. Women are still fighting for their rights, even though we're 50% of the population. You know, the LGBTQ community is still fighting for their rights. I'm sorry, Nuria, but sorry, not sorry. I don't forget the T. And I don't call it an alphabet soup either because it's just I don't like using terms that further sort of we want to be able to say everyone is human, everyone can exist in their own right, in their own bodies. And, governments, religions don't get to decide that. They don't get to decide what we do with our bodies, with our minds, with our hair. And we want that freedom for everybody, right? And so I'm really glad that people are here and sharing their stories regardless of who they are. Because at the end of the day, what really does tie us is that we all left Islam. That's the only
yeah,
thing that we have in common. Everything else is very different.
absolutely, yeah. No, and I think I've mentioned this to you. Obviously, I take a very
Yeah.
different stance on the whole trans thing. I actually don't. I'm not. I'm not okay with men coming into women's spaces who call themselves trans, but I don't want to get into the trans debate
Yeah.
because that is a whole different topic, and you and I
Yes.
do come from opposite ends of the spectrum on that.
Yes.
But as you said, the main thing is we've all left Islam, and people are sharing their stories, and they're entitled to share their stories, whatever that may be, and we're here to listen to their stories, and we're acknowledge who they say they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
um
Like this
so
person here that's
yeah.
sharing of the story of Nassar Hussain from Bradford, who converted to Christianity, almost got killed, moved to the US, right? Like even that freedom of and from religion, it is not a luxury, it's a luxury and a privilege, and it shouldn't be. We should all have that freedom. It's a human right to be free from religion, right? Or have that freedom to like move to a different religion. But to see this, it's just heartbreaking that even those choices are deemed sinful and enough to get like vigilantes, right, riled up.
Yeah, no, this was crazy, and I don't. Thank you, Wilds8396 for sharing this because it is actually very pertinent to what we're talking about. And I didn't actually know the recent update or however long it's been since he's moved to the US, but I'm very grateful that Nisar Hussain managed to leave the UK because I was shocked that the way that they came after him in Bradford. Again, I consider Bradford, absolutely overrun now. Like it's become a Muslim enclave. So you wouldn't personally catch me there anytime soon. It would be very dangerous to be a vocal ex-Muslim, in my opinion,
Yeah,
in Bradford, especially if you're well known. It's a very tight knit Pakistani community as well. But
yeah,
he got very kind of like, I'm not sure exactly what they threatened him with, but they came after him and his family so badly that he had to move. And it was just a normal choice, as you're saying, Sammy. Like you're
yeah,
in Britain, you're choosing to move from one faith to another. That should technically be nobody else's business. That is
yeah,
up to you. It's what you choose to believe. It's your personal relationship with God. Unless you're going out there and forcing your opinion on other people, if you're a threat to national security, if you were telling the government and everything else to change their ways because of how you believe or what we should do, that's not happening. He was a
yeah,
family man who decided to leave Islam, but apparently again, the Muslim mafia holds weight when you do things like that in places, parts of the UK which are heavily Islamized. You, like, for example, in Slough, the way that the Salman Rushdie protests kicked off, you would
Mm,
think you were in Lahore or Karachi or somewhere like that, with the way they were smashing down bookshops and, terrorizing people on their way to work. This is not acceptable in Britain, yet we've allowed it to become the norm in heavily Muslim areas. We've kind of just we've written them off. The white flight has happened. Muslims have kind of overrun that area, and we're just like, whoa, okay, I won't go there. But also, that's not something we should accept. It's wild to me that it's gotten to this point.
yeah. And oftentimes immigrants, right, we insulate ourselves because we find community mutual aid networks, right, through people that look like us, through people who talk like us. There's a level of it that's okay, but then there's that level of it where, like this, right? When that religion is influencing that entire community to like go after a person just because they left Islam, that's scary. And that's where it's like, okay, how do we draw this line, right? How do we ensure that we have safe spaces for people to leave their Islam and not experience the consequences? And unfortunately, what's insane to me is that we have to experience the consequences here on earth, and then this Islamic idea that apparently we're going to burn in hell too. So it's like double consequences that we have to like fucking like think about. Oh shit, like I'm the fact that this life I'm going to get harmed in this life and I'm going to get harmed in the next life too. And talk about trauma, right? Like growing up with that fear, it's so scary, and to experience something like that too.
No,
Um
absolutely. So,
Yes, very culty.
yes, it
Very,
is.
very culty.
Which is why this
Um,
website needs to exist in the first place. So I wanted to. Did you have any stories you want me to read, Sammy, that really stand out to you? Because I'm willing to just read some random ones just based on
yeah,
the
so
two.
I was gonna actually show you. So do you see the 3 buttons on the bottom right side of the website? The 3 yellow buttons on the
Uh,
bottom right side, right.
sorry,
The
I
bottom
think.
right, the 3 yellow buttons, you see like there's a little feedback icon, there's a little shuffle icon.
Sorry, my StreamYard button was there. Yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
So that's feedback. If anyone wants to share feedback about the website, feel free to. The button
Okay.
right above it is a shuffle
Invite.
button. So that's where you can send us feedback. That
Okay.
shuffle button, if you click it, you can read a random story every time.
Oh wow, how fun! It's like
So
the roulette of
yeah,
apostasy.
yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Do you want to read this one out for us?
Sure. Where to go?
Or shall we wait? It's London. Shall we choose a
Yeah,
more
you
far-flung
can
country? Let's.
shuffle again and see if something comes up.
Oh, Giza, Egypt. Let's do this.
All right. I was a 16-year-old at the start of Ramadan when I started getting recommended what I saw back then as anti-Islam propaganda. Instead of dismissing it, I went down a rabbit hole while being open minded about other people's opinions. For the first time in my life, I decided to study Islam from the ground up, not just what I had memorized, but the verses, hadiths, and history that Muslims rarely acknowledge. As a Muslim, born and raised in Egypt, I had never really questioned my faith. I subconsciously saw religion conceptually as a coping mechanism, but because Islam was my religion, I kept it in a separate, untouchable, holy box. It's so true. I
Yeah.
kept it. That box started to crack when I looked closely at topics like Islam's approach towards child marriage, concubinage, polygamy, sex slavery, and the general attitude towards warmongering. The stories of Safia and Aisha had always made me uncomfortable, and I used to listen to Muslims make up copious stories to ignore the truth of the situation. Reading the sources directly only made my belief weaken. It was especially exhausting because I had almost become a hafiz of the Quran over the many years, yet had never encouraged myself to deeply examine what I was memorizing. As a man, I had always seen the religion as patriarchal. I have never been a fan of that because, regardless of what Muslims say, the religion has no foundation of feminism in it. I have never seen men and women on similar grounds, and most of the oppression and suppression was aimed at women and women only. Islam is a foundational trait which taught men weaponized incompetence while women had to do most of the work, especially in relationships. I realized that Islam treats those who don't believe, apostates and disbelievers, harshly. They are enemies of the faith who deserve to be guilted for falling out of the folds of Islam and eternal divine punishment if they reject the message of Islam after receiving it. That was my turning point, and I'm no longer a Muslim.
Oh
Incredible.
my
Just
God.
again, goosebumps.
Goosebumps. Wow.
Yeah.
Each of these is just, honestly, it's like discovering diamonds.
Yeah.
And this is
And
how,
just what's really cool is the way people share these stories. Like this person, like this box, this holy box, it started to crack, right? Like these visuals that you get when you read these stories and you're like, damn, I didn't even think about it like that. And so that's it's cool to get a new perspective on leaving Islam.
yeah, always, exactly. You just see it from the mind of somebody else in that moment and be like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that was the angle that kind of, led them out or made them question.
Yeah.
Okay, let me take a little shuffle and see what I can read.
Oh, hello, Pakistan.
Oh yeah, all right, let's do Pakistan. Okay. It's a long story. I mean, in Pakistan, what you see will make you leave Islam. That is so true. Pakistan as a just existing in that country is enough to make you leave Islam, to be honest,
Yeah. Yeah.
or act for safety. My story is like everyone else's. But I left Islam, my life improved exponentially, and I'm working to further improve my life and also make my new identity as an ex Muslim. It's a beautiful life. Islam is messed up. Amen. um, and if you are a new ex-Muslim, remember we are out here. We are many, and you can do this. Oh, let me give that a
So
love.
sweet.
That is amazing. Islamabad. Okay. Um, yeah, this is
Yeah. I just left Islam when I discovered that the religions are fiction and this decision makes my life better.
go
Beautiful.
Romania. Go Romania. That is amazing.
Short and sweet.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let me do one from
Yeah.
Tunisia.
Yeah. Go for it.
I left Islam when I was 19 or 20 years old, 19 to 20. After a long research in the Quran and Sunnah, I understood that I don't see myself as a woman that should obey her husband and support everything that is written in the Quran and their common interpretations like slavery, mulk al-yamin, and the barbarian wars that led to the expansion of Islam. Leaving it led me to 2 years of isolation and depression. I entered my 20s having no idea on the meaning of life with a lot of questions that I couldn't find an answer to. 4 to 5 years ago, when I started looking deeper into Islam to be a better Muslim woman, I ended up leaving it. Now I know for a fact that I might never know why we were even created, and I'm okay with that because inside I feel better as I no longer need to search for justifications for things I know for a fact are brutal and wrong just for a God to be pleased. Wassalamu alaikum.
Yes. She is such a better Muslim, better Muslim woman. I love that. I was like, I want to
I
be a better Muslim woman.
I know, and that's actually
So
interesting
many of
because
us
a lot
thought
of
that.
women decide to
Mm.
be, yeah, more pious, and then they're just like, this is not
Yep.
working for me.
Yep.
I think another lady whose story I find really fascinating is Madiha, who also
Mm.
does her activism on YouTube. She's
Hmm.
amazing. Madiha talks. If you are, if you care about what happens in the Pakistani ex-Muslim scene,
Yeah.
but she basically got divorced and then wanted to go to Mecca to do the pilgrimage to reinforce and strengthen her faith.
Hmm.
And, she's an independent woman at this point. She's earning her own money. She's raising her own two children. And then to be denied going to get closer to God and attend the
Yes.
pilgrimage because she didn't have a male relative go with her as a mahram. Like basically, I always say, like in Islam, you are the property of a man, whoever's the closest male
Yeah.
relative to you living. It
Hmm.
could even be your son, effectively. When she realized that her very young son, I think he must have been even younger than a teenager at the time, needed to be her mahram so that she could go to Saudi Arabia, she had a reality shock thinking, you are giving more agency to a little
Hmm.
boy than you are to
Hmm.
me as a fully grown woman who works, who's got away from already a toxic marriage, been slaving away to earn a living and raise her kids, and I can't go and fulfill my religious duty without being
Yeah.
babysat by a child. And I love that that was the wake up call for her, because that was, clear as day.
Yeah.
That's the misogyny, that's the wali system of guardianship coming to the forefront within Islam.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it
And it's interesting that like so many of us women have that one sort of really that one thing that like, it sort of like we cut that cord. And finally, like for Medea, it was sort of this like going to Hajj experience. And like, what do you know what it was for you? That like just that one last thing that you had to like just cut off and let go?
Yeah, it was essentially the Sharia law, like sending you
Okay.
back to your husband's house. When I realized that was directly from the Quran, like this whole
Yeah.
concept of disobedience that's put on us is like it's such a vague like kind of permissibility for men to act on if
Mhm,
you fear
mhm.
disobedience, which means you're like a rowdy pet that's got
Yeah.
out of control that day or been too annoying, and you need to be kind of disciplined and brought back and chained up like a
Right.
good little, piece of
Yeah.
chattel that you are. Um, that was the
Good
one
little
thing.
piece of shuttle.
Yeah, we're glorified pets in Islam. Women are
Yeah.
nothing but glorified pets, to be honest.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, Oh, thank you so much, H2 Clan. I'm so grateful that I could teach you anything. If I teach you one thing, please let it be to stay away from Islam, because yes, Sharia law is absolutely barbaric. And somebody else here said exactly what the crux of the matter is. I love women and dogs. Both are treated like crap in the cult of Islam. Absolutely, that is exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do a few more roulettes and then I'll get
Would you like to
your.
read your story?
I think people are quite familiar with my story. Do you think I should read it or should
I
we?
mean, it is another story that's on here.
Okay, sure. Let me find. Oh, we're coming to Europe. Let's click on London. Um, okay, I'll read my contribution to this if I can find it. People have written their stories so well as well, like I
I
love the way
know.
you've. Do you have a word limit on how, or how does it
Yeah.
go?
So,
Okay.
we actually upped it right now. It was 2,000, but we upped it to 5,000 character limit because we were seeing longer stories come through, and we're like, "You
I
know
can
what?
imagine
Let's
she
just give
lets
it."
people start. They're like,
Yeah.
also, can I just say, like, that I just mentioned it briefly, but when I mentioned that this could be cathartic for people, you don't understand what you might be providing to people in that small body of text by letting go of so much that they've held up and that was
Mhm.
pent up, bottled up inside. Especially,
Yeah.
Europe, I'm not saying that, your families you don't have backlash here. Of course you do. I faced backlash myself. But when you scour the rest of the globe, and you see people speaking out from this part of the world, writing their stories from like
Mhm.
here, you can only imagine that, they might be writing that from under their duvet covers in pitch black with their
Mhm.
headphones in, thinking, should I not? Is it still safe? Is it really anonymous? Who's on the other
Right.
end? Is this a trap? So
Right.
I mean, Dira Ghazi Khan as well, some, sorry to say, some very random, like, backwater area in Pakistan that is very Islamic, very hyper conservative, very patriarchal. And still somebody here says, curiosity and access to the open world gave me my leave to this jail built totally on fears. You are not alone. So, even in the most
Yeah.
hyper conservative places, like, for example, Afghanistan, even if you see that, like Kabul, two people here. She knew since a young age that I didn't believe in any religion, but it took me time to accept that this is who I am and I don't want to change it. I just want you to imagine that whoever's writing this, probably 3 days ago this was added, is currently living under the brutality of the Taliban. So whoever this person is, most likely, I'm guessing she's a girl as well. She can't go
Mhm.
to school. She can't continue an education. She cannot
Yeah.
have access to a normal life. And yet that she's out here saying, I didn't believe in religion from such a young age. Can you imagine having to compartmentalize that side of your mind and live under the
Mm,
brutality of a regime like the Taliban in Afghanistan, who says we shouldn't even hear your footsteps or hear you laughing or speaking too loudly because that might cause temptation?
yeah.
What a
Like you
sick
literally,
way.
yeah, the fact that you can't even exist publicly, like you don't exist at all in the streets anywhere. It's just the home. And just incredible to see that, people are sharing stories from those countries and locations too. Yeah, it's overwhelming.
So this is my story. I didn't write it in as much like, what's it called? Like amazing prose as some of these other stories. But
Would you like
I'll
for me
read
to
it.
read it?
Sure, please do.
Okay. I had a Sharia law put on me when I was living in Dubai and tried to get a divorce. The law related to the disobedience of a wife, with the police forcing me to return to an abusive husband, and then they would not let me leave the house without his permission. At first, I didn't think this could ever be sanctioned by Allah in the Quran, but when I finally escaped, I was able to read the Quran with an open mind in English and saw that verse 424 does allow for this. I also read The Wife Beating and Hatred for Non-Muslims. I then read the Hadith and discovered how Muhammad was not the peaceful man we were told, and how terrorists are inspired by him and the Quranic verses. I also realized Aisha was a child when he married her, and worse, I now speak openly on my YouTube channel Beyond Belief to raise awareness and educate people about the dangers of Islam, especially for women. I have felt so incredibly free after leaving Islam. It was the best decision I could have ever made. Ugh, period. Ugh,
Oh, I like my own story.
amazing.
That was so cathartic. Oh my gosh. Wow.
And thank you for sharing, and thank you for even just, spending time with me on this. It's really, I was hoping that we were able to see these sort of the patterns that are occurring across completely different countries. The details might be different, but that emotional sort of arc is so familiar, that sort of fear, shame, being surveilled and policed. It's amazing to see that I can relate to this story from somebody in London who had this very different experience like yours.
Yeah, and I actually made a point to mention Dubai because people have a lot of, you know,
Mm.
this fantasy that Dubai is like some
Mhm.
tax-free haven where it's like beach parties and
Everyone's
brunches and
cool, yeah.
yeah,
You
which
can
to a
live.
degree it is, but lest you be a Muslim woman, that's you have to be kind of uh Sharia law has to apply to you even if you're an expat from another country because you're
Mhm.
Muslim. And God forbid you try and escape from a husband, because Dubai is still very, if you're dealing with, look, it's all a facade, the beach clubs, the brunches, the nice aspects of Dubai, the Burj Al Arab,
It's
the
the
Burj
economy
Khalifa.
that runs, right? Like the tourist economy that they're running.
Absolutely. Peel
Yeah.
back that veneer, and you are dealing with very highly conservative, not very well versed in the modern world
Mhm.
men who really look to their Sharia law. Like look at the penal code in Dubai, and you'll just realize how archaic it is and how barbaric it is. And you'll be like, wow, this is a bit intense. So I'm not surprised there's whole sections of YouTube dedicated to like Brits banged up in Dubai and other foreigners banged up in Dubai, because as soon as that you cross, you peel back that veneer, you are in for a very like harsh reality
Yeah.
check, where you could essentially be on death row for having this much marijuana on the bottom of your shoe that you have no idea how it's even got there because you're just passing through an airport, for example, or
Mm.
an
Yeah.
Emirati man has bumped you in the nightclub, but he thinks that because you tried to save your drink, you bumped his elbow too hard, but he's Emirati, so his word is final and his word is gospel, and you will find yourself on the wrong side of the law. So
Mhm.
it is not all that it is made out to be, just so people are aware. But I just wanted to comment on this because I find this comment, but more so the username, absolutely despicable, and I'm going to block you because your voice here does not matter. Nobody cares what you think. If you come here with a handle with called Axel Radicabanu, who was literally the terrorist murderer who killed 3 young girls in Southport, and you try and bash ex-Muslims by having his picture, the picture of a scumbag terrorist, you are going to get absolutely blocked and removed forever. Nobody cares what you have to say. You should be ashamed of yourself. So there you go,
Bye.
permanently banned. Bye.
Oh,
The door hit you on the way out. My God. Sorry, that just really annoyed me.
that's okay. See, still we get triggered. Like just even a Muslim saying just horrendous things. I just got a DM this morning too. It's like every day, another
But
day in the life
Sammy,
of me.
glorifying, taking the name of an actual terrorist murderer. Like,
Right.
how perverse,
Sickening.
how sick in the head must you
Yeah.
be?
Yep.
Genuinely.
Yep.
I okay,
The
let me
cult
calm
is
down
gonna
again.
keep culting.
No, it's so true. Yeah, absolute rage bait. It's true. But the fact that you even have a username with his oh my God. Just sorry, that's really left a bad taste in my mouth.
Uh,
Anyway, I
uh,
saw it, sorry,
I
go
was
ahead.
gonna share with you too that your story has a unique link with it as well. And so you see right next to
Oh,
the hearts, there's a little link icon. You can actually
yes.
share the link to your story with others as well. So when you click on
Oh,
that, when you share that link and they go to that link, that your story will pop up.
oh
So
wow. This is
yeah,
done so well. I was gonna actually compliment you because even the process of writing the story, from being given the option to write it and read others and like it, sorry, I was so like, okay, let me go through this process, and I felt so safe and secure the entire time with all the prompts reminding
good.
me, oh, we just got a like from Mecca, Saudi Arabia. Oh my God, somebody from Saudi Arabia is on right now. Potentially ex-Muslims if they're liking stories.
Or the fact that they're liking the story that's probably in Mecca. They're probably either reading the stories from Saudi right now and liking that story.
Beautiful. This is the power of the internet, and you have harnessed it so
Oh,
beautifully.
thank
Um,
you.
but yeah, what I was saying is just the fact that I felt so safe and secure, like at each stage of the like contribution, you kept reminding us that it's anonymous and nothing is stored, and you won't have any of our data. All the way till the end, like the UX on this was just fantastic.
Oh,
So
thank
whoever's
you.
done the back end development, honestly,
Oh,
job well done, all of
that
you.
was my incredible partner. He did majority of the back end building this whole thing. So just yeah, it's been really cool when two ex-Muslims put their heads together.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, more power to you guys.
Um,
I was just gonna zoom in if that's okay and see
yeah,
the breakdown of the stories from within the UK
yeah.
just for my own amusement, if that's okay.
Of course.
So we've got okay, what's the most northern story we've got? Okay, nobody from Land's End just yet. We've got Edinburgh,
Thank
big
you.
up Scotland, represent. Okay, a Punjabi Pakistani from Scotland. Oh my God, I left Islam because of the trauma of being born out of cousin marriage, while my aunties and uncles were allowed to have a love marriage and the rest of my family looked
Ugh,
down on me. Wow. Oh
it's
my
heartbreaking.
goodness. The stuff you hear, Sammy, like I didn't even I
Mhm.
wasn't even gonna click on that, and I'm just wow. This is the problem. This is a huge problem with the Pakistani diaspora in Britain. The cousin marriages need to stop. These children did not ask to be born um, by two cousins getting married and this child being the recipient of whatever genetic mutations or disorders are passed on. It's not fair on these children and it's an absolute burden on the NHS. We need to stop this.
Yeah.
So then we've got Newcastle. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Iraqi.
Liverpool,
Iraqi Muslim from Newcastle, amazing. So Manchester is a
Leeds. Isn't Leeds in Manchester? That's pretty populous, right? Like Muslims, a lot of Muslim community in that area.
yeah, exactly. Leeds and Manchester are quite like they have quite large Muslim populations. Sheffield as well, to be honest. Leicester as well. But London, okay. Right. The UK, we are leading, but we need more. Ladies and gents, if you're listening, please submit more. Ireland is represented. Big up Dublin. Amazing. A lot of Pakistani ex-Muslims I see are represented here.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any other region or area that surprised you the most, Samuel, that you want to touch on just before we kind of head towards wrapping
Um,
up?
yeah, I think the sort of Oceania region, like sort of Australia, but really
Yeah.
the number of stories coming in from Malaysia, Indonesia, that was surprising, and also not surprising. I mean, they're Muslim countries, right? But really cool to see the islands showing up.
Wow, yeah, look at this. Oh, this is beautiful. Okay, let's see a story from Kuching. I've always felt unhappy being a Muslim. It feels suffocating, almost cult-like. I'm still exploring Christianity, and what makes me sad is knowing I might never be able to be baptized or become a true Catholic because my current status could put others in danger. Oh my gosh, I hope that one day I can fully embrace the Catholic faith and that Sarawak will be free to let people leave this religion without fear. Amen. People are absolutely struggling, still under the thumb by this 1400-year-old cult just because Muhammad allegedly said he or she who changes their religion kill them. This is
Hmm.
why you see all of these bubbles across the world. It's crazy. But yeah, you're right, Sammy, that this part of the world is very interesting, especially given
Yeah.
Malaysia having Sharia law
Hmm.
enforced there as well. I would not feel comfortable leaving Islam openly in
Yeah.
Malaysia. And this is a Gen Z woman who recently left Islam. I choose to reject the belief of the existence of Allah and the Quran and all the teaching and rules that come with Islam, which was the biggest part of my life a few months ago.
Few months ago. Oh,
Oh,
oh
give
man.
that a like. Right, I need to spend some time and give all of these stories a like.
Really nice to see US and Canada showing up too.
Of course,
I
yeah. Let's go to your
still
part of the world in
not
a second.
as still not
Australia.
as much. We still need more from Australia too, but
Yeah, Australia, you're doing well, but we need to ramp up the representation from here. Four, five on this big continent. Come on, ex-Muslims.
I think there
We
might be
want your
seven. Yeah,
voices.
I think seven total. Um,
And
and
then
then
let's
yeah,
go to
really
your
nice to
part of
see
the world.
US and Canada
Yes, talk to
showing
us
up
about your
too.
part of the world, Sammy.
Really cool to see. I mean, we've got several states represented, especially like areas like Chicago, New York, New Jersey. These are really big areas of Muslims, even Michigan as well. And so we see stories in California and Texas too, also large populations of Muslims there. So
Mm.
just like definitely not surprising. Um, yeah, we see a few stories from like Toronto area, Montreal, Ottawa. So it's been, yeah. Hopefully, we get more stories from the U.S. too, U.S. and Canada. But really heartening to see, like you can literally see that. Okay, yeah, there are Muslim populations, and even within these pockets of U.S. and Canada, and so to be able to see those stories pop up there too, just yeah,
I also love how you've left space for like the Free Betty, Free Sharif Gabber
yeah,
campaigns as well, because it shows you like, yes, we have all of these positive stories coming out of these places, and these people feel comfortable enough to share their story and their experience, but at the same time, the persecutions are still going on
yeah,
for other vocal activists around the world. And I do think that for every person that has shared their story, how many others are still forced into silence,
yeah,
or kind of not able to speak their truth. So
right.
yeah, it
And
is.
I hope that, yeah, even if folks are closeted, I would encourage you, like, don't share your details. Um, but because obviously your safety matters more than anything, so prioritize that. But share what you want without, make it vague. Don't share like exactly where you grew up or exactly where you were born or just make sure that you are keeping yourself safe in this whole process. And we're doing the same thing for you as well. So
Yeah,
hopefully.
exactly.
We're seeing a huge drop off rate though. Like a lot of people come onto this website and they go to that story, they go to share their story, but they don't actually share that story. So
Uh-huh.
there is a little bit of a drop off that we're seeing. And if we didn't see that drop off, I think there would probably be 1,000 stories here by now, probably over 1,000.
Yeah. Wow.
So there's still a little fear, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely. I
Um,
think there is even kind of going back to what Abdurrahman said earlier,
yeah,
even as we're trying to put all of the kind of, protective measures in, you guys have done fantastic work on the back end to reassure people as well. But no matter how much we say it's anonymous and don't share your exact city and what have you, people still can't bring themselves to do it. That just shows you the level of fear and pressure that's operating behind the scenes.
yeah.
Um,
And we also remove identifying details for minors. So if you're under 18, you mention your name or anything, we're going to remove it because we don't want you to get in trouble. That's scary. And especially as a minor, you don't have rights in that country. I mean, Islamic countries, like, let's be real here, your rights are always in jeopardy,
yeah.
but especially for kids and young people, it just, yeah, it's very scary, and just we want you to be safe. People can also request removal. So if you have shared your story and you want to remove it, you can let us know, and we will remove it for you. So no worries there.
I love that, and thank you for taking all the requisite precautions that you would need to start something like
Yeah,
this. I think it's really like nice the way you have created a safe space for these stories, and
yeah,
the data storage, the rescinding of stories if you're not comfortable. You have a moment of like, oh my gosh, I've gone a step too far. You can
yeah.
always take it back. It's very good to know.
And
I
that's exactly why when you submit your story, you probably noticed you got an email, like a code that was emailed to you, and then you had to
Yeah.
enter the code in to verify. So we did that to make sure humans are telling stories, right? Like we're not getting like AI bot stories
Oh,
here.
I had to
But
solve some very difficult
so
puzzles. I'm like, am I a robot? Am I? Gosh, the security lock on this thing.
so yeah, so we made sure that verify like that code was in there. So just so we make sure we're also getting humans that are telling stories.
No, and I can vouch for that. Try and submit a story. I mean, genuinely, if you are an ex-Muslims, please don't mess with the system. Otherwise, like if you genuinely are trying to add to this very wholesome ecosystem of the stories, do submit it, and you will see that the process step by step is very reassuring. Every single step of the way, and the code and the email afterwards about what will happen with your data, and that somebody is looking at it, and the time frame, and then it's been approved, then you can see your story. It's done very, very well.
Yeah.
And it
Thank you.
should alleviate a lot of fears for people who are reporting and telling their lived experience from Muslim countries where blasphemy still applies and apostasy is a crime.
Yeah.
We've got Mustafa in the house who has said, sorry, Mustafa was like, he operates sometimes as my video editor, so I want to give
Hmm.
him a shout out for the hard work that you do, Mustafa. But also, I want to show Mustafa you, because you're saying I've made it very clear to my family that I've left Islam. It may be not a good choice, but I'm very happy with the decision I've made, the best decision of my life. Well, Mustafa, this one is for you because I know you often might feel very lonely being in a country where blasphemy still applies and people get lynched. Just like the other day, somebody who was an Ahmadiyya Muslim got um,
Mhm.
mauled by a crowd. This is
Ugh.
Pakistan for you. So please add your story in, Mustafa, since you're loud and proud. But look,
Mhm.
you've got 10 fellow ex-Muslims in Karachi who have given their stories. You've got two from Hyderabad. You've got one in Dera Ghazi Khan. You've got one, oh, sorry, I need to zoom in. You've got
One
one
in
in
Peshawar.
Multan and one in Peshawar. And Multan, Peshawar, Dera Ghazi Khan, you would not even dare as a woman let your headscarf, like not
Mhm.
the full-blown headscarf like Iran, but they have a light shawl. You would not walk around having that fall onto your shoulders in places like that. You will be married off by the time you are 18, I guarantee you. Most likely to your cousin or even worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So if you click on that, the three buttons on the bottom right side of the website, if you click that top button, you can see all the top 20 news stories that have just been added to the website. Yep,
this one?
that one. Yep. And so these are the stories that, like, top 20 news stories that come through every time it updates automatically, every time we get new stories. Um,
Wow,
there
so the
was,
last one was from Mogadishu.
yeah, yep. And so there was one here from somebody who said they were born into Ahmadiyya. Yeah, the
Oh,
one from Mauritius.
oh wow, okay. Let me click that. Mauritius. Do you know what the Ahmadiyya faith believes and why they're different? Sami, if you do you want to explain it to the
Um, I don't know the full
Okay.
details, but I think that they believe there's somebody after Muhammad.
Yeah, they believe in a prophet who was like
Yeah.
living in modern times called Mirza Ghulam Ahmed.
Mirza Ghalib. Yep, 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 yep.
And they consider him to be the finality of, the Islam story. So that is insanely blasphemous to tell a Sunni Muslim.
Right away, they're like, nope. Sunnis are like, yeah, get out of here.
Yeah, exactly. And so, in a country like
So
Pakistan, they
sad.
make them
Yeah.
put because
Yeah.
they consider them so blasphemous, they make them put non-Muslim on
Yeah.
their passport so they can be easily identified. And as
Yeah.
you can imagine, they can't really hold positions of, high public office,
Hmm.
and they're very highly discriminated against. And it is extremely easy to make a complaint against somebody from that
Yeah.
sect, and they will
Yep.
basically be lynched by a mob, if not
Yeah.
penalized by the government. So
Yeah.
it is a
A
horrible way to
friend,
be.
yeah, a friend has experienced that. She's Ahmadi and her family has experienced like, their house like being attacked. I have a Pakistani Christian friend who's gone through similar experiences in Pakistan where they've been hated just for being Christians in Pakistan. And so it's a it's really sad. It's, incredible that like even just the sects alone that break off a major Sunni Islam are being discriminated and people cannot live their lives experiencing or just practicing whatever they want.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Oh my gosh, look at this one from Tashkent. I'm just going to read two stories quickly from Tashkent, and then if you've got any questions for Sami, please pop them in the chat now because we will be looking to
Yeah.
wrap up. So, as the co-creator of something this epic, if you've got any questions as to how it operates, or I know we've tried to reassure people about, it's completely safe to use it. If you have any more like deeper questions that you really need some reassurance, feel free to put them in the chat now, and I will pose them to Sami, so it hopefully will put your mind at ease. Or if you have any question on the data, and if
Yeah.
you have any comments on the data that you'd like Sami's take on, please pop them in the chat now while I read these stories. So from Tashkent, Uzbekistan, I left Islam after I realized that it's heavily patriarchal and oppresses women, and also discovered that there are no scientific facts as Muslim claimed. My life was so restricted before because of religion, but now I'm free and happier than ever. Yes. Second story. All my life, I lived a miserable life on top of all of it, not because of anything related to my culture. It's all because of Islam. There we go. Not culture, Islam. My parents are not bad at all, but their decisions due to Islamic brainwashing made my life hell. So now it's been 5 years since I left this cult. I'm feeling more free than anyone, and thankfully, I don't believe any shit that Islam tells me, and I'm glad I'm not on the side of the pedophile Muhammad. Justice for Aisha. Oh, that gets so many more likes if I could. Wow. And there we have it, folks. Stories from all across the world at your fingertips. So, Sammy and I could sit here and read through them all, but we will leave that to you. You've all seen the website now. It's very easy to access, and feel free to just read stories in your free time. And especially for ex-Muslims, just realize you are not alone. Um, Before we wrap up, Sammy, and I'll take
Mhm.
any comments or questions for you, I wanted to say, do you notice that the common theme in so many of these stories are the sheer freedom that people
Mhm.
describe when they've left, or like you
Yeah.
constantly hear the best decision, I'm so free, I'm so grateful I left that cult, my life is much
Yeah.
better now, I'm happier now. Even me, when I do podcasts on Islam, half the time I'm like smiling a lot when the topic isn't so dark, and I'm like, gosh,
Yeah.
I'm too happy for such a dark ideology that I discussed a lot.
Yeah.
But genuinely, leaving Islam does something to one's, I'm not even a believer in souls, but it does something to one's soul, if
It
you will.
does. I always, even as a kid, I used to be like, why does Allah hate everything that's like fun and funny? And I think that basically describes Islam. in like a nutshell, that everything that's like fun and funny and freeing and feminine and all the things, right? It just Islam like basically sucks that sort of out of the air, and you get this very like you have to be serious. I was as a kid too, I hated that like Islam was so much about the seriousness, and it wasn't the fun, loving sort of nature that I had. I was always like a happy-go-lucky kid. And so for me to like experience Islam was torture.
I can imagine. You're also way too cool for Islam, to be honest. Islam would be like, tying you up. How could you get rid of all that joy and positivity and
Oh gosh.
creativity? Um,
Yeah, no, it's been and I think that's what's really cool is like continuously reading these stories and continuing to read just the sheer sort of unburdening and of like this like weight being lifted off your shoulders. That's the feeling that you get when you read these stories, and it's beautiful.
No, it actually is. I think one of my best pastimes now will be to just grab a cuppa, get comfy, and just read through stories. If I'm ever having like a not so good of a day, I'll just turn to this site and be like, wow, every single time you're having an off moment, there is somebody around the world who has left Islam in that very moment, and
Hmm.
this button will be that proof. I could be like, just today, one, two, three, four people have left Islam from Indonesia, Gambia, Germany, and Mogadishu, Somalia. If that doesn't change your mood, I don't know what will. More power to ex-Muslims, honestly.
Yeah, seriously. And Muslims can say whatever they want. We get hate from all sides. We get hate from the right and we get hate from the left. So we're kind of stuck in the middle of it. But I'm sorry, not sorry, but racists don't own criticism of Islam. And we are not going to be silenced because bigots exist as well. And for me, the answer to like anti-Muslim bigotry and Islamophobia is not abandoning ex-Muslims, right? So this is a pro-ex-Muslim website. This is not an anti-Muslim website. And I think that's the key difference here is what we're always talking about too, is that we exist not because we're here to like hate on Muslims. We exist because we are trying to help provide a community for ex-Muslims like ourselves and to be able to relate and connect to other people. And so
Absolutely.
it's about the fact that we can hold those truths together, that Muslims deserve safety, but ex-Muslims deserve that safety too, right? We can't have
Yeah.
it just one way.
No, no, those days are gone. Well said. And I think this website is a massive realization for all those scholars and even like, the Muhammad hijabs and Ali Dawas who
Mhm.
say, all you weaklings who left your religion and in a perfect Sharia state, you'll be
Mm.
beheaded. Well, sorry, mate. People are leaving their religion all across the globe. So how many of us
Yeah.
are you going to actually execute in your
Yeah. I
non-Sharia state anyway? But
right. We
the
beat Islam
avalanche of
lightly.
yeah, the avalanche of apostasy that people are worried about. I mean, just the age demographic that we saw earlier of
Mhm.
the 18 to 25-year-olds leaving as the mass majority here. That makes me so happy because that means they are concerned that there is an avalanche of apostasy. I mean, this
Yeah.
website, if it was way more known and we could actually get the a lot more of kind of real indication of the numbers, Iran would be off this scale in my mind.
Mhm.
Saudi
Oh,
Arabia would be
totally.
off this scale. I'm sure
Yeah.
Pakistan would be at least 60% more than what we're currently seeing. Probably India as well. So, this is just the beginning, is what I'm trying to say. Watch this space because this is, we talk about an avalanche. This is like the first snowball dropping off the cliff. This is like the ground is slightly shaking and you're thinking, oh, something might be wrong. Wait for, oh, look, India, Thiruvananthapuram, represent. This is the beginning of something huge, is all I'm going to say, really.
I hope so
And on that
too.
note, I'll just
Mm.
clear up some questions about VPN and
Sure.
doxing, Sammy, if that's okay with you,
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
we'll wrap up the stream. because I'm mindful of time. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on somebody saying, so basically people are saying, talking about people pushing fake stories of doxing just to scare people away from the site. And then somebody else said, so Radu OG said, you can use a VPN and set up an anonymous email and a new X
Yep.
account with your VPN. Use one browser for X and the other for the regular browser, so it should not be possible to dox you at all. Do you
Yeah.
want to just comment on that? The fact that people could potentially be doxing people on this, or
So it's not going to happen. Your stories do not get automatically published on this website. So every story that comes in, there is a team of moderators, human moderators, ex-Muslims, that are reading these stories and ensuring that if there's any information like that that's doxing or anything like that, it doesn't even make it onto the website. So there's that. We keep emails hidden. They are not even visible to the moderator. So I actually don't even see who that person is that's sharing the story. I only see a random ID that we purposely anonymized it for that reason, so that even the moderators can't know who it is. And this is a good idea. Definitely, if you can use a VPN, use a VPN. Set up a throwaway email account, right? Use Proton or any of the email services. And that's just to ensure that you don't get an email from xmuslim.me. When you submit your story, you're going to get an email that sends you a code to verify that you're a human. So that if you don't want that xmuslim.me name to show up in your regular email address, use a different inbox for it. And so that's actually a really good idea. And we encourage you all to just make sure that you are using an email address that isn't tied, doesn't have to be tied to your personal identity. It can be very separate. And knowing that, like, we're not just going to publish fake stories. There's actually a story that I pushed through, which I assumed got lost in translation. But then we had 2, 3 other people review it. We got some feedback, and it turned out to be a Muslim story. So that's, we're gonna review these very carefully every time.
okay, fabulous. Thank you for covering the doxing concern.
Yeah,
I think that's one that a lot of people had. So look, Sami, this is exciting. Leslie
I know.
Boschel, I agree totally. The internet will be the fall of Islam, but
It already
Leslie is
is.
saying it already is. Yeah, look at this. The snowballs are falling off the cliff. Oh, Halifax! Look, I'm going to be obsessed with this website. I'm going to, oh, Halifax, Canada. We just got to like. Um, Leslie is saying that she'll share it in
Please
Iran,
do. Yeah, please
which
do. That'd be
please
amazing.
do. Oh my
I mean, we
gosh.
want everyone to share this out. There might be an ex-Muslim that you know of that might be seeing something. Please share this out with others that you know. You never know when someone needs to just get something off like this. This weighs on you, leaving Islam and even questioning Islam. And so to be able to like let that go, it's a cathartic experience. And I hope more people can use it for that.
And you know what? Let's Sammy, let's check back in a couple of months' time,
Yeah,
and let's see how these numbers have changed, because I would be
for sure.
very curious to see how these numbers have changed, and how,
Yeah.
how dense that avalanche is, how
Yeah.
how
Yeah,
much of
for
a
sure.
concern this is for Muslims.
And just the
Um,
fact that it's been 7 months since we launched this website, we already have 722 stories. Like we're averaging, more than a story a day. So hopefully by the end of the year, we're going to be over 1,000, maybe.
Well, that is incredible. Please, if you're watching tonight and you know people who would be willing to share their story and you reckon it's safe for them to do so, of course that's a decision for them to make personally. But please do share it with them. If not even to share a story, that's not mandatory by any means. Just read. Just read other people's stories. So, I remember the first thing I felt when I left Islam, and it felt like the rug was pulled from under my feet. I
Mhm.
was surrounded by Muslim family members. In fact, I was surrounded by Islamic calligraphy and Allah and Muhammad. And I literally was like, oh my gosh, have I found a glitch in the matrix or something? But had I had access to stories like this at my fingertip, I think I would have been like on a, 3, 4 days, like, nobody talk to me. I'm reading all
Yeah.
these stories. Like, I'm not crazy. I'm not
Yeah.
alone. So We have no
And I'm
idea how
really
much.
glad. Yeah, and I'm really glad that I know that we're in sort of a slightly different phase of the ex-Muslim movement, which is really, I'm glad that social media has increased the number of ex-Muslim voices, right? All of us feeling a little more courageous and a little more sort of um, we want to be able to advocate publicly, and so it's really nice to see more ex-Muslims coming online and sharing publicly. So I think we are making headway in terms of just the awareness of ex-Muslims increasing over time, whereas before we were only watching maybe YouTube videos and searching online. But I think with the onslaught of Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube creating new ways of sharing videos and things like that, so that's been really helpful.
Yeah, and this is why I love what the internet is doing to Islam. Any little
Yeah,
dent in Islam is beautiful to see.
yeah.
Um, and we have the wonderful infidel in the house. Welcome to the stream, Dale. I'm sure you will be absolutely in awe of this website as well, because I know you missed the beginning, but we're tracking ex-Muslim apostasy stories from across the globe. And as you can see, it is a very populated, lovely bunch of bubbles. Um, that yeah, so even in your region over here, you've got quite a lot of ex-Muslims. But Infidel says, "Love to see these two unveiled faces together." Why, thank you. I love to be sitting alongside this fellow unveiled face. I mentioned that actually at the beginning of the stream, talking to a fellow ex-Muslim woman who comes out in, no holds barred, shows her face, stands up, speaks proudly. It's very rare you come across somebody as who's taken this brave step and is outspoken. So yeah, I love
It's
this. And thank you, Dale, for
it's
your
still
super chat.
scary.
It's very kind of
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, thank you, and, it's still scary sometimes, right? Like, you're still shitting bricks at some point. But but at the same time, I'm also like, I'm so done being scared. I'm done being silenced into, not talking about our experiences and not being able to actually just go, "Hey, these are just basic human rights." I know, I didn't even have a face before.
Infidel knows you from back in the day when you didn't have a face. So, like, your journey, actually, have even gone on this journey with you from
Right.
being, being kind of mystical and being haram doodled and almost like a caricature animated figure to then coming out to the world to then creating this website. Wow. I think, uh, I think we're in for a
Oh.
treat with your apostasy journey, Sammy. Honestly.
Oh, thank you. And I hope that we can continue to build this website. I am working on another project that is going to be part of this website. I'm not going to talk about it too much right now, but hopefully it will be another resource for ex-Muslims.
Oh my God. Well,
Um,
you've got to come back and show us when it's, up and running.
yeah.
I want to see what else you've got going on. That crazy.
Hopefully that the plan is to launch it by the next Ex-Muslim Awareness Month in December 2026. So I will
Oh,
be back.
fabulous. Fabulous. Can I just say, since we've been talking, since Dale has kindly joined us, we've had a like from the UK, from Yemen, and from
India, right?
India. So, gosh, just within the last few minutes of talking. um, oh, and Mustafa's saying he remembers that live feed vividly. I think it's the one where you first had your unveiling, Sammy.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I think
thank you.
people are complimenting the name Infidel. Thank you about the name. It is a great name, to be fair. Um, we're getting some love, Sammy, from ex-Muslims,
Oh.
and Roswell saying social media is the biggest threat to Islam. Agreed.
Mhm.
Mustafa saying make it a weekly progress. Oh, where's this? Syria!
Hmm.
We got a like from Damascus. Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
weekly progress report. Oh, huh,
I
probably
think
do. Weekly
that
might be too much,
Yeah, I
but
think that's a good idea, but life gets in the way. I don't know if we can guarantee weekly, but I think it would be good to check in every few months. Maybe quarterly
yeah.
would
Yeah,
be great.
yeah, absolutely.
And absolutely not. Riman Salam, sorry if I'm not saying that right, is saying, is
It's
this
for
only for atheists?
ex-Muslims. No, it's for
Absolutely not. Look
ex-Muslims.
at this.
Yeah.
It's 59% atheists, but look, there's people who are agnostic, converted, other you can see on here. So please don't think this is limited to I don't know, did you want to speak on that, Sammy,
Yeah.
anyway?
Oh no, and you're right. This is not limited to atheist ex-Muslims. This is just it's exmuslim.me. Everyone that leaves Islam, whether you convert, whether you become an atheist, you can share your story here. We do ask that if you have converted to a different religion, that doesn't mean you get to proselytize your religion. This is not a proselytizing website. And so please keep your convert to Christianity, convert to Hinduism, whatever it is, please keep that to yourself. This is not why ex-Muslims are there. We don't want to be triggered by that either. So you can talk about it from your own personal experience of how that helped you, but that doesn't give you the right to tell others what to do. So
Okay,
hopefully
well,
that helps.
you've heard it here from the co-creator herself. So Sanity Sleuth is saying, listening to the stories informs me of how brave you two are. Respect.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sanity Sleuth. And I will just reiterate before we close up for the evening is that I think Sammy, and I don't want to speak for you, so feel free to correct me. But from where, oh my God, Syria again, Latakia, Syria. Yes, come on,
Someone's
Syria.
really liking the stories in Syria.
Yeah. But if you look at this map, I think, and I'm not trying to downplay my situation as well, because I did escape from this region of the world and then finally got to this region of the world where I could speak freely. But I do understand and recognize my privilege theoretically, because England is heavily Islamized in so many different ways. But in theory, I should have every right of freedom of conscience where I live here in beautiful London. Um, but all these people who are in the other parts of the world don't have that privilege, and I would extend that to Sammy as well. Living in the States, we
Yeah.
are using our privilege to the best of our abilities. You can see how Sammy's pulling all of her kind of creative resources and talent into furthering the movement in her own way. I'm doing what I can in terms of my speaking out and trying to educate people on the ills and harms of Islam and the effects and ramifications on British society. We are only able to do that because we are in this hemisphere of the world, to be very honest. So I think this website is a stark reminder why a lot of these people, yes, they've left, but they've only really left what's the word, like mentally. So they may be mentally emancipated, but actually physically is a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
So I am mindful of that. But thank you. Did you want to say
Yeah.
anything, Sammy?
No, you said it. It's, we want so many of us are able to do certain things that many of us can't, like even just leaving your Muslim home or moving to a different country or even just taking off your mask and speaking about it. I know it comes with a level of risk, and Nuria and I take that risk. And also, we're in countries that protect us and they protect our freedom of and from religion. And so I think a lot of us, it's just a matter of finding that opportunity and what you're good at and how you can use that sort of skill and experience and wisdom to help ex-Muslims, right? Like there's so much we can do for each other. So this is just one little thing that I wanted to do for our community.
I'm so grateful for you and that you've done that. And we've just got 2 likes from Karachi, Pakistan. Is that you, someone in the chat, liking it in real time? I'm not going to dox you, so don't worry. But, question: do you feel the UK has your back as an ex-Muslim? No, not with the current government in charge. Absolutely not. You just have to. I mean, I'm a member of the Free Speech Union, just so they have my back in general. But you have to be kind of ready to stay steadfast on what you believe and standing up. And I don't go out there and necessarily teeter on the edge of doing things that are illegal. I even steer away from doing things out of protest, like burning the Quran, and I don't try and necessarily aggravate the Muslim community, but I speak my truth. That is one thing that I am allowed to do, and I will
I think
intend.
we aggravate them just by existing. Like,
Exactly,
we
that's
don't
enough,
even have to do
honestly.
anything.
Especially as women who speak out,
Yeah,
we're already like,
exactly. Right.
yes, I know that's you in the chat who is liking it,
Us
but let's not mention
disobedient women, us.
exactly.